So welcome to episode 4. We have Matthias from Atlanta at the moment. He's a massive bodybuilder. He's a massive, strong guy. The reason why we brought him on is because he has a War on Weakness brand that he's really passionate about. He's a great mindset guy. Have a listen to this podcast and get a bit more insight about him. So Matthias, welcome, bro.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
That's good, man. So tell us a little bit more about your War on Weakness to start with, to give everybody an idea about you, your brand or movement, or like what's your mission with that, the brand and stuff?
I think the original mission was, I couldn't go on Amazon and find anything that would fit. So I wanted to, start out just making some quality stuff originally. And it's weird because it kind of originates from when I was injured at the Arnold Classic. So, someone kind of mentioned that phrase to me when I was having a recovery, and they were saying, it's a little bit more than physical right now. It's going to be a more of a mental war on weakness right now because you're not going to be strong for a long time. I was in a wheelchair for 3 months.
Is that when you, did it look like you broke your legs? Was that it?
I ruptured both quads at the Arnold Classic in 2017. So
how did you do that?
It's my second squat attempt. It was like 710 pounds or something like that. And I was sweaty, and you only get one re-rack. So I wasn't going to use it on my second attempt. And it was down on my left shoulder just a little bit. And I went ahead to try to squat it anyways. And it tore on the outside of my quad. And when it did, I couldn't hold myself back from falling. So I ruptured both quads off the kneecap. And that was my last full powerlifting meet. Was at that Arnold Classic. And, throughout the recovery and everything like that, it was a weird thing for me. And for guys like you, when you're super strong and you always feel like the strongest person in the room, and then going and having people, talk to you like you're a child, like, hey, are you doing okay today? And it was such a mental battle for me. And that's really where that brand came from, because it wasn't really about me or anything that I've done that's special or me being like super strong or anything like that, but just the mentality that you have to have in a sport like this. It's brutal because everybody's going to get injured. And that's really what that's about.
Yeah, man. Awesome. So let's just rewind a little bit then from 2017. So what was you doing before that? What made you get into powerlifting? And did you play any like sports as a kid?
Yeah, so I played college football, and then whenever I finished with college football, I just started working and everything like that, business environment, and I didn't have anything I was competing. I had no competition, nothing that was driving me outside of work, and I did all the normal routines like everybody, like having like church league softball and stuff like that, and like weird old man sports that I was trying to sign up for, and I still continue to work out every morning before work. And somebody's like, man, you're really strong. You should try powerlifting. And I was always against it because I thought I'd really find out that I wasn't strong. If I got around a bunch of guys that's all that they did. And I was like, I don't want to be exposed out here as like somebody that's weak. I'd rather be the strong guy at the gym. So I signed up for one in 2014 was my very first powerlifting meet, and I just did push-pull, and I won it, and it was like a weird confirmation of like, yeah, you are kind of strong, and after that, I stayed locked in. I was always signed up for one and training for one, and I literally, I had an old school powerlifter that gave me some weird advice back then. He was like, just sign up for as many as you can. And he was like, he was like, the only way you're going to get experience is just by being in meets and, having good ones and bad ones and stuff like that. And I just continued on literally all the way until the Arnold Classic.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. That's awesome. What was your, so I was having a little look back, and obviously you did a 340 in 2019 deadlift.
What'd you say? What was it?
Your deadlift in 2019 was 340. I don't know what that is. What's that, 700 pounds?
Yeah. So the most, my best numbers, I did a 650 squat, 485 bench, and a 750 deadlift, all in competition. Yeah. At 230, at 230 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow,
raw. Yeah.
Yeah. That's how we go, man. Excellent. So, what was your your program leading up to those big numbers? Did you have a coach, or was it just yourself? And like, how did your powerlifting career look like? Is it, did you have a coach, or was it just a lone wolf?
I never really signed on with anybody, because honestly, during those years, I wouldn't have had the money to have somebody like that. So somebody that I would, pick their brain and get a lot of information from, Brandon Lilly with the cube method. I would do that a lot. And it's good as you're becoming strong. But when you get strong, that's a grueling process. So
yeah, man, loading up those bars.
Yeah.
So so going from powerlifting, what made you go into bodybuilding? Like, because I saw a couple of your shows, man, you made some great progress between, those 2 years you had apart. I can't remember what year they were. I had a little look. Made some great mass gains in between your two shows.
So, I've always been against bodybuilding. Fundamentally, as a powerlifter. So, whenever I was injured at the Arnold Classic, it was going to be one of those things where I'm either going to be stubborn and try to work myself back into something where I could possibly get back to where I was before in powerlifting. The doctors, they never advised me against that. The only thing that they said was, whenever I had this repaired, they meshed wiring with my quad and had to actually wire it to the bone, back to my patella bone. And they said, if you were to do it again, it would be a nightmare to, fix all of that. So I had a lot of people during that time, whenever I first came back to the gym, was like, the doctor said that was the best case scenario, that it actually tore from the bone and it didn't tear down the middle. So it didn't affect the way my muscle looked. It was just, super painful, hard recovery. So the bodybuilding guys were like, hey, you should transition to bodybuilding because you're doing hypertrophy and stuff like that. You can build the muscle up. It's a whole new sport that you can come up in. And I literally, I'm the type of person, I always have to have something out in front of me. So whenever I came back from surgery, I took 8 total days off from the time that I ruptured both quads, surgery, drive home, everything, 8 days. And I came back into the gym in a wheelchair. And I set a goal for, so that was March of 2017. And I competed in my first bodybuilding show in June of 2018. So, months of that was just training in a wheelchair, doing upper body stuff. And then that's been the start of my bodybuilding career up until now. So I've only done 3 bodybuilding, 3 bodybuilding shows so far. And this year, was nationally qualified and everything like that. I'm going to go do some national shows, coming up in the fall.
Yeah, nice, man. I love that. What I was having a little stalk on your photos. Yeah. So tell us, or tell the listeners, how you got so much mass on those arms in those 2 years, because everything grew on those arms. It was like, was it 2018 and then 2020? Like in those 2 years, was it all the wheelchair pushing and stuff?
Yeah, exactly.
Your arms just like doubled in size.
The funny thing, anytime anyone asks me about any muscle group and like how to make it bigger, I'm always like, deadlift. They're always like, what? That can't be the answer for everything. Like, how do I help my core? I'm like, deadlift. They're like, how do I make my traps bigger? I'm like, deadlift. Like for anything. But honestly, as a powerlifter, I had never had an arm day, so that would have been like disrespectful to waste my time doing an arm day. And now I have that to where, I have time periods where, things change because I'm specifically focused on one area, when I'm in there. And everybody has a muscle group that's like their fast developing muscle group, and for me, my triceps take off,
Yeah.
And so I have to actually like chill out on them a little bit, or it makes my shoulders look small, so it's a weird,
because in 2020 your shoulders were looking just as big.
Yeah. It's a weird thing, but just that specific focus on that area when I had never done that before, that's part of it.
So your favorite exercise, deadlift?
Yeah, definitely. It was cool too, because, I was worried that, after the injury, like I'll never be able to do any of those compound movements ever again. And deadlift was actually the first, thing that I got back into that I thought I would never be able to do it again. I was still like, well, maybe if I adjust my form a little bit, it'll be fine. And it's been that, I think 2019, in May of 2019 is when I pulled that 750 again. So it's been fine ever since. I haven't felt any pain or anything like that. I can always just let it go out of my hands. It won't actually crush my body,
Awesome, man. Awesome. So what are you doing at the moment for training wise? Is it just, are you in off season at the moment because of lockdown, or tell me what the situation is over there with lockdown, and we can go into your training.
Yeah, it's weird in the United States because we can never be on the same page, state to state. So literally, and that's what's weird about traveling. Every state's different. You'll walk in some places and they'll, tell you have to wear a mask in there. And then other places, it's like, you look weird wearing a mask in there. So it's like, it's different, but I am in off season right now. And I'm in between coaches. I'm about to start with John Meadows here in the next 2 weeks. And I'm excited for that because one, just being able to start with a big name coach like that, and somebody that he's built a lot of big athletes. My last time period for bodybuilding, the coach that I was with, his mentality was everybody's going to just be as shredded as possible. Like, we're going to get you down as lean as possible. But I think I can put on mass, and I think that John is going to help me push me more in that direction. With this last round of dieting and everything like that, I was 265 in November of 2019, and I stepped on stage. I was 195. So it was a massive, cut, to that time period, 7-month prep.
But for people listening, if they come over onto your page, I saw that the transformation from 260 to 200, but you don't look any smaller, man. Like, you just, so your coach and yourself have got that spot on. And maybe that leads us well into the nutrition side. Do you like being told what to do? Or are you pretty flexible with your nutrition, or how does it work? How does your coach work it for you?
In the off season, I'm very flexible. It's about me eating as much as I can, really. And I haven't really began to push it right now. I'm like it's a weird hibernation mode where I'm like, I know it's coming. Like, I'm about to be forced to, eat certain things I don't want to. So I'm like eating everything I want to right now, like in preparation for the discipline. So I think, it's not too bad. It's a mindset shift, because bodybuilding is all day long. With powerlifting, it's like, I know I'm about to squat tomorrow, so I'm going to eat a large pizza. It's like, I just squatted, so I got to eat a large pizza. It's like, I was always like fitting it around the training. But, that is the most difficult part, I think, is that, for 7 months in 2020, I ate the same meals in the same order.
Yeah.
So it was, it gets to be a really, really hard mental struggle,
Quickly just go through your meals right here so we get an idea of what you're eating.
So for me, I wake up 4 a.m. every morning, and I want that.
Rewind. That's right. So Matthias gets up at 4 a.m. every damn day. And if you don't believe him, get on his Instagram now. And every morning, it's a 4 a.m. wake up call, baby.
Yeah. What kind of time would you go to bed if you're getting up at 4 a.m.?
I'm always going to bed at 10 and I get up at 4. So I try to keep the nighttime routine, the morning routine exactly the same. So one, I'm super organized with stuff like that, and it helps with the discipline. I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. If you wake up rushing around, then you don't have your meals and stuff like that. And then if you didn't think about it last night, you're not going to have them. So making the nighttime the same and the morning the same at least helps you to prepare. But I've been doing that since 2018. And really, I didn't have enough time to eat all the meals that were requested of me. So I had to space it out at first. And, I like, me personally, I like for the first meal and the last meal to be a shake. And a shake and bodybuilding is just real food blended up. So it was like the meal that I like to go to is rolled oats in the shake with your choice of fruit, and it's 16 ounces of egg whites, and I will put like sugar-free chocolate syrup in there and a tablespoon of peanut butter, natural peanut butter, and I will have that first meal and last meal, and then as many meals as I can in between of like, you know, chicken and rice, steak and rice, beef and rice. And I usually, I mean, me personally, I get ground chicken and ground turkey, lean turkey. I think it's easier to eat.
Yeah, would you put? I follow Stan Efferdin a lot, and I love his monster mash. You know, adding the like the stock over the rice, it makes it so much more easier to eat.
Yeah, I used to do that. I used to always use a crock pot to where I could get up in the morning and just like put it in containers. But then I would just not clean the crock pot, and then like 2 months later, you can't even use it. You know, it's like so disgusting.
Yeah. How do you go about prepping your meals? You like every morning, is it 4 a.m. you get up and sort them?
For me, I like to do like 2 and 3 days at a time. Because I mean, I know a lot of people, they're like, oh, well, it's Sunday, I'm going to meal prep for the whole week. And really, it's like, it gets so disgusting, and they will just probably throw away half those meals.
Yeah.
So I want them to be fresh at least, or as fresh as possible. So I'll do it about 2 and 3 days at a time. And I will have it all, you know, in bigger containers. I think for me, that's easier. Like I will cook 3 days worth of ground beef, 3 days worth of ground turkey, 3 days worth of ground chicken in, you know, 1 foot containers. And I'll have, I mean, I'm never going to miss carbs. So I've always got carbs around somewhere, like whether it's like rice, or I'll get those instant bags of rice in the off season, or like grits or things like that, and take that with me. But in the morning, I will just get up and put them in smaller containers and take them with me.
So what's the, for us English folk, what's the closest thing to grits? I've had it, but I could never know what it was.
Someone asked me that just the other day. Somebody from Jamaica was like, what are grits? And I mean, it's like a very fine, if I was to compare it to something, it's almost like mashed potatoes. But it's a ground consistency where it's very fine, and it's not like rice. For me, I look for things, everything that I think about as far as nutrition is like, how fast can I digest it? So if there's something that's super heavy on you and it feels heavy when you eat it, like it's probably just that much harder for your body to process it. So I like things like that can get through my system, you know, better. And rice will a lot of times bloat people, and oats too. So, you know, that's why I'll blend up the oats.
Nice. So in off season, you're not doing any tracking as such. So in season, when does two questions? When does your season start? So, and when do you start getting more, like, do you track, or do you eat how you feel? Are you that regimented? You just take a meal out, or you put a meal in, basically?
Well, for me right now, technically would be considered like I'm in like an in-between, because for real off season, like whenever I go into a real off season with like John Meadows, it will be more difficult than the prep probably, because it's so much food to where you're literally the entire time you're awake, you're trying to get in as many meals as possible, and it's just every 2 hours a whole meal, and you know, those meals are usually the way that I like to keep it is I would like for the off-season meals to just be bigger versions of the prep meals. That way, it's just a difference in, you know, the size of the meal. I'm not like, oh, I need to switch to fish now or something like that. Like, I don't like to do all of that. And that's the key for your budget and everything like that financially. I think when people try to like overcomplicate it, where they're like, well, I need this, this, and this to get lean, and then I need this, this, and this to get bigger. It's really about, you know, quantity and finding the right things for your digestive system, and then just eat more of it or eat less of it. You know, we all know what healthy food is, but a lot of people try to complicate it and be like, well, you know, they have a specific thing where they're going to go buy all of this, and then they have all these other things they're going to buy. if you can keep it simple, it's going to make it easier, you know, in the morning to actually have it. And it's going to make it easier when you're shopping and stuff like that too.
Yeah, that I remember I was watching like the Ronnie Coleman documentary, and he said like he ate like 5 things. It was like chicken, beef, potato, oats, and something else. And he said, that's all I eat. Yeah.
It's always the same.
Like,
yeah.
Eat the same. Because
you got to kind of have the mindset where, I mean, it's not going to be awesome, and you're not going to fix something that everybody already knows is like difficult, where everybody wants to like come out with like these weird recipes and stuff like, but this is still healthy. It's like, and that's the thing about it is when I tell people it's like, it's that easy and that hard, because it's an easy process that all of us know how to do. It's just really hard to do it for a long period of time.
Yeah.
And it's not this weird complex thing. Like there's a reason why people are like, oh, what, like chicken and rice. Like, well, you know that that's healthy. It's like, it's just not exciting.
Yeah, man. So as you're in America, and obviously they do great food over there, we have rubbish food over here. You have to really find some good like American barbecue over here. Like it's not, you're not going to find it down the street. So what is like, what's your go-to cheat meal? Like if you're going to have anything, like what are you going to go for? Don't hold back.
For me, I mean, I have a few things where I'm kind of like, that's so bad for you that I just won't even eat it. Like I used to say all the time, like I'll only eat donuts on vacation. Like I'm not going to just be like, well, I'm going to just have one or something like that, because when I eat them, I'm just going to eat like 20 of them. Like I'm not going to hold back. So donuts are like one of those things. Like, do you have Krispy Kreme over there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like those, like the hot Krispy Kreme donuts, like I can eat a dozen like easy. And then that for like sweets, that's what I like. But I love like Italian food, and I love like seafood. So, I mean, obviously that's like a ton of pasta and stuff like that. So usually it's just the opposite of what I would get in prep or something,
Yeah, man, you let me down there. I thought you was going to go for like a rack of ribs or something, or
rack of ribs,
big chicken wings.
I grew up in the South of the United States, so I've always been around barbecue. Like there's like barbecue all around me. So that would be like, something.
So you disrespected them telling me you want Italian.
Yeah, I don't want to say like barbecue is a cheat meal either, because in the South everybody just thinks that's kind of healthy because it's protein. They're like, that's fine.
Yeah. Wicked, man. Have you got what's your like supplement protocol through prep and stuff? Like, is there something you have every day, like supplement wise, or is it something you do, or you're not into it?
So literally for 2 years, I drink the same drink first thing in the morning. When I'm driving to work, I will drink a serving of super greens, because I don't even cook vegetables or put them in with any of my meals. That's my serving. That's my full serving of vegetables for the day. And then I'll put vitamin C in that. And then I'm trying to think. I'll put glutamine in there. And then I take a scoop of pre-workout too on my drive to work to get hydrated. And then, usually like the organic Bragg's organic vinegar, the apple cider vinegar, and I'll put honey in there. I usually like pre-make it and everything like that, but it's always the same. It's always been the same drink. And then I'll take liver support, kidney support, multivitamin. I take, what else? I'm trying to think, because I literally have it all set up in front of me. Like I talk about my morning routine, like it's all right to where I'm just like a machine in the morning. Like I'm taking this stuff and then just like out the door. But what else? It's just pretty much anything that I would need an excess of to make sure that I'm healthy, because I think that's something people take for granted, especially when you're like in the gym scene, where you're like, well, obviously I just need more testosterone, to like be stronger. It's like, well, that's one thing, it's like, but there's just so much that you need to make sure that you're, keep it in check.
Nice, man. Wicked. Who would you say inspires you the most to carry on doing what you're doing? And like, obviously after, like, obviously we know you're sick in the head because you've ripped your quads and you're still going back for more. So, you're not right there, but the people that lift stupid weights, they're not right anyway.
Yeah, that's exactly
your inspiration and what makes you keep going back.
I think, and this will make sense after I say a few of them, but I've always been a huge fan of Ronnie Coleman. Always. And, when I first moved to Georgia, Metroflex was the first place that sponsored me as an athlete. And it was weird because I met Ronnie Coleman then. Like, he came to Georgia because it was the first time that they had opened up a franchise there. And it was weird because it was like he could see the path for me, where he's like, you're not built like a powerlifter, like a normal powerlifter. He's like, you remind me of like me, where, you don't look like you should be powerlifting, you be bodybuilding. And I was like, yeah, I don't think I'll ever do anything like that, like back then. And his mentality of like, he's like, well, bodybuilders lift heavy weight too. And I was like, I know you can. But that mentality of like, to me, and it's the way I always tried to approach powerlifting, was like, I never wanted to be the guy that was really big but not strong, or really strong and didn't look good. Like, to me, and it's like one of those things where you're not always going to have all of that. I realize that, but that should be the ultimate goal, because that's the reason all of us got into it. It was like this image of like almost like a superhero that's like unattainable. And to me, that's like what Ronnie Coleman was back then, where it was like, this guy is a freak because he's super strong and he's like shredded, and like something you've never seen before. And Dorian Yates too. I mean, that mentality is just like, you can't force someone to be that way. Those two guys right there, I would say, like, I can watch videos of those guys like all day long, like run through a wall, because like Dorian Yates being like, I love that the video where he's like, I kind of just have this fuck you mentality.
Yeah.
Like I don't care what you say, I'm gonna do it. Like that's me. Like I love that thought process, because both of those guys, the foundation of all of it is, without any social media, without any publicity, anyone knowing that they were doing it, they would still be doing that same exact thing. They'd be in the gym lifting heavy weight and being crazy, and no one would even know about it, because that's just their personality. And that's what I like about it, is like they were discovered just because they're just freaks. It wasn't something where they were putting on a show.
I remember in Ronnie Coleman did an interview, and he even said he never even looked at himself in the mirror. He didn't. Yeah. I don't care, because I'm going there, and I'm coming with what I've got. I can't make any better. So he never looked at himself. But for me, definitely, yeah. Those two were just they're proper inspiration, and just like keep pushing on. Like you see, like Ronnie's busted his back, and he still says his biggest regret is not squatting that 800 pounds for free or something. I was like, Jesus.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's somebody who really like did it their own way too. Like, because people look at it and it really pisses me off, because people are like, well, you would never want to be like that. And I'm like, you're looking at such a small time period of like that guy's life, when there's people who will never get to do the things that he did, and they never will, So he really did everything the right way. And when you talk to him, he's like, just like you said, I wouldn't change anything. Like that's the goal, because you got tons of people who are 100% healthy, who they've hated their life, their entire life. They're like, this is terrible.
There's a nice famous interview with Mark Bell, when that guy asked him about that, his elbow. He goes, fuck your elbow. He goes, we're all going to end up in a wheelchair one day. I might just get there faster than you, but at least I've done something. I've got a world record under my belt.
That's exactly right. That's the way I look at it.
How you looking? Like, is that how you look at life? Like, you might be busted up, but I'm still going to be pushing on. And I guess that comes right back to your war on weakness. There's no time to be weak in this world.
Yeah, because I mean, you can try to play it safe like that, with everything, with powerlifting, bodybuilding, business, whatever you want to do, but it's not going to protect you. And that's the misconception, is everyone's like, well, we're taught from the time we're little to play it safe. We're taught to be like, don't put yourself out there, don't overpromise and underdeliver and things like that. And it causes people to miss out on things because really it's like when you put that heavy weight on your back for the first time, or you're unsure if you're going to be able to pick something up. It's like, what do? Do you just not try it? Or how do you feel when you pick it up? Because all of us have had a PR before, and that's something that could have hurt you, and you did it, and now you're at a new level. And that's how I feel about the whole thing, because, people these days, like, they're so cautious and worried about different things like that. And it's like, you're missing tons of things by thinking that you're protecting yourself from something.
What things do you, what strategies do you use to make sure that when times are tough, you're always doing the right things to get you to where you want to go to make sure that you get the lifts, even with life, when life doesn't go your way? What strategies, coping mechanisms do you use, or do you recommend to other people to use?
I think the one thing I can reference that to, and the question I get a lot of times, like on Instagram and stuff like that, from people who have had a severe injury, is like, how could I ever come back from this? And that was my main feeling. And I will tell you 100%, I have not no mirror of what should happen in that situation, because I was terrible to be around, and I was very difficult with my family and everybody. That's really how I learned, of like, this is it's different. It's like someone having, PTSD from that point on, because you're just not the same anymore. And the only way that I came out of that, I feel like, one, with a lot of prayer from a lot of people, that could see that I was like really hurt, like not just physically hurt, but the ability to like just look at just today, because looking at like, well, I'll never be able to squat 700 pounds again. I could say that now without being like crushed. Like that back then, looking so far ahead of like what you'll never be able to do again, was like, felt like today's worthless. Like, well, why should I even go to physical therapy to learn how to squat my body weight when I'll never be able to do this again? And what I tell people that have had a severe injury like that is like, you have to just focus on today. That's it. And nothing else, not tomorrow, not the next week, because when you look too far into the big picture, when you're injured, it's so discouraging when you're really, really injured. And people start to confuse that with like a pulled hamstring or something like that. It's not the same. When you have a real injury that has like threatened the way that you function and things like that, it can look like a mountain that you'll never be able to get past this on your own. So I look at discipline that way too, with what you're saying, of like hard days in bodybuilding. I think about it in terms of like a timeline of like, I realize that I'm not going to be 100% disciplined 100% of the time. So I want to make as many positive steps as I can, knowing that there'll be some negative steps in there. And whenever I tell some people about that, like just for business, it's like, you have to think about like the road out there is your goal. And if you do that one positive thing, that's 2 steps this way. And then if you do something negative, that's 1 step back. And that's literally how that thing processes out in the big picture.
Yeah, man. And if I like the way you're talking there, because not as bad as you, but I had my knee reconstructed, and like, I was in that hole as well. But I think the main thing is, I think, like you say, like think of every day. Like they just said, oh, just lay on the sofa and tense your quad, and I'm like, tense my fucking quad. Like, what the hell is that? But after a while, you're like, I've tensed the quad every damn day, and then I was getting mad, so I got my brother to drive me to the gym, and I'd sit on the machine to press stuff, just to do something. And then you say, you like that's the sort of thing I use as well. Like every day, it's like, how am I going to do something better today? Like it did take a while to get to that stage, but I think that's a wicked way to look at it. Like look at every day. How can I take that 1 step forward today rather than, like you say, 2 steps back?
Yeah. And I think that's important too. What you just said is, you don't try to like hide away, for, the first little bit. What really crushed me, like I said, was the repetitive conversation of like, oh man, like what happened? Like, how are you doing? Like, how do you feel? I think, and after being through that, like if I see someone like bad injured, I'm going to intentionally not ask about that. Like, because how many times have they said the same story? Like they're having to relive it in their mind over and over again in front of all these people. So I will ask a different question. Like, even if you're just like, hey, do you need anything? Like, you need any help with anything? Like something different. Besides like, hey, I see that you're in a wheelchair. Tell me the whole story, and how do you emotionally feel right now? It's like, I feel like shit, I'm in a wheelchair, So, I think that is a big thing of like, make sure you get out and go to a gym or do something. Don't hide away from stuff like that, because it can get under your skin a little bit during that time period.
Yeah, man. No, cool. That's fine. That's cool. No, wicked, brother. No, wicked. So who do you look up in the powerlifting world? Like, obviously you mentioned two of the greatest bodybuilders of all time. And then you've, so who do you look up in the powerlifting world? What kind of got you into that? Like, obviously you wanted to be strong and look good, but who, did you see anyone in the gym, or like, was you looking up to the Lily Bridges, or, the Ed Cohen or anything like that? I
think that there were a few times that I saw things that freaked me out. For one, that
you live pushed me towards that. You're from the South, right?
Yeah. So I saw someone bench press 500 pounds for the first time, and that's when I was first out of college. And I thought that was like that same guy incline 315. And honestly, like I'll tell you, like being honest with you, the 315 incline at the time, just not knowing the difference, was like, what? Like in my mind, I remember telling my brother, like, I saw someone incline 315 pounds today. And like that blew my mind as far as like strength sports. But I can remember, I think the very first person that I watched a video of that was a powerlifter that was like crazy to me, and it's the same type of thing I'm talking about, is like Dan Green.
Yeah.
Dan Green, to me, during the time period, like when he was in his prime, I mean, he was 220 pounds and he was like built like a bodybuilder and like solid, and the strongest guy, like I've seen pound for pound, like I've ever seen. And he's still, I mean, he has longevity, like he's still strong today. And there's something to be said about that, honestly, because, I mean, some of the guys that I know of that were really, really strong, powerlifters, they didn't really do a lot of accessory work at all. They were always focused on just the compound movements, and they got injured. And I think looking back, I could have done more things like that to protect myself, with everything that happened with me.
Yeah, man, he's a top lifter.
He's a beast.
Yeah, he is. Wicked. So let's have a little talk about your War and Weakness brand again. Let's bring it back to that. Do you ship over to the UK and stuff? Oh, you do, yeah. You ship over to the UK. Yeah. I've got your t-shirt. I just can't find it, so I'm gonna have to buy another one.
You told me, or one of you all told me there was a weird charge or something like that, though, like a.
The tax. Yeah. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't, but just depends on if they want to be assholes or not.
That's what, honestly, as far as stuff like that, like I've shipped to Australia and everything like that now, and to me, the way I look at that brand, like this is just like I have a whole different set of business things that I deal with. This is a thing on the side for me that's, it's more of a thing. It's a team thing to me. After everything that I went through, because I can tell you, I definitely don't make any money doing that. It's a more of a negative situation, but I love to see it. Like to see someone like where you all are at wearing that shirt, like that means a lot to me. And that's the whole thing that I want to happen. I would love to see it like everywhere. But if there was a weird shipping situation, I just have people just email me or message me on Instagram, and I'll make sure we figure something out to get taken care of, because it's not like Nike or something where I'm like, oh no, unfortunately, we cannot do this or this. Like I'm trying to get it out there as much as I can.
Yeah, perfect. So go on. What do you do day to day in other businesses, if you're allowed to talk about that?
Oh yeah. Well, I'm an assassin.
Yeah, I thought so.
So I work for a company that does commercial and residential construction.
Oh,
and I cover like a whole region, just helping with operations. So like director of operations. And, I have to go to a lot of the different locations that are just having like issues and stuff like that and help correct it.
Oh, sweet. So this clothing, well, I was almost like, I'm named it like a movement almost, because
yeah,
a lot of the cool photos, like there's like loads of different sorts of people putting up. Like this is what I kind of wanted to do with the podcast. So we've got like a boxer on tomorrow, and we're going to be interviewing a boxer, and the things like that. So it's not just about the barbell. It's actually like mindset, like how you're recovering, and bringing like a team together, and just bringing like. This is why I thought it was wicked, because you're in America. It'd be great. It's great to get in contact with you and bring you on. Yeah,
definitely. What's funny too about that logo is like that was the very first shirt I ever made, and I was finishing my MBA, and I was in marketing class, and you had to create a website in the class, and I was like, well, if I'm going to make a website, I'm going to make a T-shirt. And if somebody buys one, at least I made some money, And I had been thinking about doing that, and I had that. I had the words, but I did not have a design. And I went to meet with this guy in his garage who had a screen print like situation where he could print some shirts for me. And he's like, well, what do you want it to be? Like something for weightlifting? I was like, I just got to make sure the words don't look weird. And he like showed me that, like how he could do it like that. I was like, that's perfect. And I made the one shirt and wore it to the gym, and everybody's like, that is awesome. Like, where can I get that shirt? And I was like, wow. I was like, man, I just fell right into this thing. Someone in their garage helped me design this design.
That's the best way sometimes. That's the best way. Is there any quotes that you live and train by? If I'll quickly plug your website. If everyone looks on the website, I had a little quick earlier. There's some really cool like little bits of tips on there. But what would you say your quote is to live and train by? Just one quote, and
I think one quote that has stuck with me for a long time, and I'll say it like on a bunch of different things. But I had a football coach say it a long time ago, where he would say, "Hold the vision, win the day." And that goes back to, exactly what I was already saying, is like, there's a bigger picture focus than you squatting 700 pounds, and, if that happens, it happens. But, I honestly think about the injury now as a blessing, because powerlifting, I had an old school powerlifter tell me a long time ago, like, you're either going to lose the love for it or you're going to lose the ability to do it. And he was like, unfortunately, a lot of people don't lose the love for it if they're just getting PRs every month. He's like, it's a difficult thing to step away from. And for me, that was the only way I was ever going to get out of something like that, was something severe, like it had to be like, okay, you're not allowed to do this anymore. So now I look at it like that was something that was supposed to happen, to lead me into something else. And I really think it's a good thing. I had got to that point where I was just nickel and diming it with my totals anyways. So it was getting frustrating. So that was my retirement right there, to scare everybody else.
Nice, man. So where can everyone find you if they want to come and have a look at you on Instagram and things like that?
So the Instagram is Warpath Barbell. And, that's what, that was another quote that people were saying, whenever I was coming back through the recovery, is like, man, you're on the warpath in here, aren't you? like in a wheelchair and everything like that. Like people could tell that you're kind of pissed off training. And it's something that I hung on to that. And I was like, I'm going to trademark all this stuff. And if I ever open a gym, that's what it'll be. It'll be Warpath Barbell.
Awesome. Is there any, are you sponsored at the moment, or is there any like brands you're working with that you just want to quickly throw on the end of here, just to let everyone know where it's at?
Yeah. So Impel Nutrition is the person that gives me all my supplements, and they have honestly one of the best pre-workouts that I've ever tried, because I was actually, I met the gentleman that owns that company whenever I was on vacation, and he gave me some samples. And I started just buying it. And he approached me last year and wanted to add me as an athlete. And I was like, well, that's good because I was already buying it. But it's not a big name. And honestly, my opinion with supplements is that when companies do become a big name, the quality starts to suffer because they're trying to make things in bulk, and all of their products, it's a very fine powder that, you know, actually dissolves. It's not like all chunked up and everything like that. And it's effective. I mean, I take it in the morning, like I said, and I take it, you know, in the evening before I train. They've got a bunch of different things. And then my meal prep sponsor is Smash Meals, and they're based out of Tennessee. I don't know if they'll ship over there, but.
Awesome. One thing I forgot to ask is, like, you was talking about your morning shake. Do you ever switch out the eggs for like a whey protein or anything, or you just try and stick to food as much as you can?
I think as much as you can, and that's what I would tell anybody, because a lot of people ask about protein. I'm not against protein, but I just think as much as you can, if it can be real food, that's helpful. So I honestly think, I told somebody just the other day, I think liquid egg whites are like that's like a secret weapon that people honestly forget about. Liquid egg whites, and I'll go to the grocery store and buy all the liquid egg whites. So if you're around me, you won't even have access to them. But like, I think it's like such a hidden tool that you can use, because, you know, I'll drink it all the time. There's no taste, you know. People get freaked out about it, you know. So if you're like that, just drink protein. Get you something sweet.
Maybe too. Wicked.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you all for having me. It's been cool.
It's wicked. We'll definitely get you back on again to catch up again at some point. It's been wicked to have you.
Yeah.
Any last words for the English fellas?
No, it's super cool to be able to like talk with you guys and to know anyone in England. That's pretty cool. So I'll have to get it set up. I'll come train with you all sometime. You have to add up the kilograms for me though, because
Mate, I was trying to just work out what you'd actually lifting. I was like 800 pounds, is that good? 700 pounds? It sounds
like, yeah, 800 pounds. No, y'all keep pushing it. It's cool to have stuff like this.
Yeah, definitely. It's just trying to get just trying to understand, like, we all believe that strength is like the base of everything. So Rich in martial arts and boxing, and you know, this base is still strength. Kelvin, powerlifter, and I got a rugby background. So yeah, but like, so it's just more about actually rather than us just talking to ourselves, just meeting people that believe in strength in the bar as well as mindset and anything else that they can do. Like, we had a guy that does Olympic judo 2 weeks ago. So yeah, it's just making sure that we're trying to get the word out, and then obviously if we can help as many people out along the way, you know, with your brand and stuff, so hopefully get a few more English orders. And that helps everyone out as well. So awesome. Thank you very much for your time, bro.
Thank you all. I'll see you later.
Keep smashing, man.
Thank you.
See you.